Yeah, and there's been plenty of activity and action. So we have a minister sworn in. We've also had, apart from the minister sworn in, we've had also a lot of stuff happening, especially with Nigeria Info, beginning from yesterday when the commissioners for Lagos State were sworn in, and then with this one also 2 days of appointment. I don't know what's going on in your state where you are in, but definitely these are the biggest stories in town. I was going to rush to get my ministerial list, and then I just remembered also too that I have we have excerpts of the president's speech also too. So for those people who weren't able to get the list when it was read out, I did catch a couple of them, but the president went through everything, mentioning when he got to Minister of Petroleum, Sandra, he
said it's under me.
the first time I think he ran over it, but I think maybe he had to do when he was going to mention it the second time when he mentioned what's his name now? When he mentioned the Minister of State for Petroleum, that's the former governor of Bayelsa State, Temitope Silva. He had to say now that Temitope Silva will be under me. So that was pretty interesting to hear. But if you did not hear it when it was being read, or you don't have that list, this is an opportunity for you to hear it on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Minister of State Mines and Steel Development. Muhammad Bello, Minister of Federal Capital Territory. Senator Godul Afabio, Minister of Niger Delta. Dr. Chris Ingege, Minister of Labor and Employment. Sharon O. Akezo, Minister of State Environment. Malam Adamu, Minister of Education. Ambassador Miriam Y. Katagum, Minister of State Industry, Trade and Investment. Timothy Silva, Minister of State Petroleum, under Mr. President. Senator George Okume, Minister of Social Duties and International Affairs. Mustafa Baba Shahuri, Minister of State Agriculture and Rural Development. Gode Jide Agba, Minister of State Power. Festus Kiamu San, Minister of State Niger Delta. Dr. Omonia On, Minister of Science and Technology. Dr. Osagi Iha Nere, Minister of Health. Clement Aike Anade Agba, Minister of State Budget and National Planning. Otumba Richard Adenei Adebayo, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Geoffrey Onyema, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Dr. Ali Isa Ibrahim Pantami, Minister of Communication. Emeka Iwajuba, Minister of State Education. Engineer Suleiman H. Adamu, Minister of Water Resources. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. Dr. Mohammed Mahmoud, Minister of Environment. Sabo Nanono, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. Major General Retired Bashir Salihi Magashi, Minister of Defense. Then Minister of Petroleum. Senator Hadi Sirika, Minister of Aviation. Abubakar Malami, Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Ramatu Tijani, Minister of State, Federal Capital Territory. Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information and Culture. Bemisola Saraki, Minister of State Transportation. Babatunde Raji Fashola, Minister of Works and Housing. Senator Adeleke O. Mamora, Minister of State Health. Mohammed H. Abdullahi, Minister of State Science and Technology. Ambassador Zubairu Dada, Minister of State Foreign Affairs. Architect Olani Lekan, a Deputy, Minister of Mines and Steel Development. Senator Tayo D. Lasso Dura, Minister of State Labor and Employment. Ruth Arubashola, Minister of Interior. Sanjay Dare, Minister of Youth and Sports. Pauline Talon, Minister of Women Affairs. Aratomi Amechi, Minister of Transportation. Muhammadu Megari Dingyadi, Minister of Police Affairs. Engineer Saleh Mamman, Minister of Power. Bakar D. Aliyu, Minister of State Works and Housing. Dia Umar Farouk, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management. Thank you and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And there you have it, the new ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So from now until 6, you and I, alongside Aghogho, Oboh, and the two guests that we are going to have on the phone, will be talking about this. We're going to talk about these ministers. We'll take a look at as many of them as we can, their portfolios. We'll analyze their past experience in the context of the current challenges in their ministry. And we have two guests who will be helping us make sense of all of it. Now, throughout the show, and you can even start right now on Facebook, we want to hear from you. These ministers are going to be running your country. They're going to be running your government. You know, what do you think about them? These ministers are running your government to fix your country. So what are your thoughts? Are these the right fits for each job? Which particular ministers do you think were given the right portfolio? Which do you think were given a portfolio that doesn't suit them? If it were up to you, who would serve where? We'll take your calls throughout the show, but we're going to wait to speak with our guests on the show. Who do we have, Aghogho?
Yeah, we're going to be speaking with Lester Wilcox as well as Chris Nwokobia. Both of them great watchers of the political journey and life and game in this country for a number of years. So it'd be great to get their perspectives on what to make of the ministerial list as well as the portfolios we'll be looking at. Interestingly, the last name I saw, Sadia Omar Farouk from Zamfara State, is a new minister. I haven't heard of this one before. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management.
I heard that. I was like, we have a new ministry?
And social development. That's a new one. I haven't had. I don't know how that is going to work, but we'll probably be understanding very soon how that will work. Together with the Minister of Special Duties, which is George Akume, former governor of Benue State, taking that. Last time I heard of a Minister of Special Duties was during the military era. You had people like Wada Nas back in the days. But it's going. I think we have now established connection with Lester Wilcox, as well as Chris Nwokobia.
Yes, so both of them are here. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to Hard Facts.
Yeah, good evening. I'm delighted to be with you again.
Yes, of course. It's great to have both of you on the show. So you were listening when we went through the list again for our listeners.
Maybe so people will know who's Lester Wilcox. Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Chris Nwokobia.
My pleasure to be here.
All right, Chris.
And let me say good evening to Chris. It's been long we talked together.
Oh, fantastic.
Lester, how are you, my brother?
It could be better, my brother.
All right, let me start with Chris. Chris, what are your thoughts? That's where we'll start. What are your thoughts on the portfolios that have been given to these ministers?
Well, I think that it is obvious that even the deaf can hear the wavelength and the decibel of disappointment. It's obvious that the blind can see how unprofessional and lacking in capacity the appointments obviously appear. I want to say that if Mr. President, like he told us, is taking Nigeria to the next level, if he's taking Nigeria to the next level, the curious position is, after we saw the screening, the question is, for what reason do you screen people? After we saw the screening and we saw the performance, for instance, of Festus Keyamo regarding issues that was posed to him concerning the Justice Ministry and the Office of Attorney General, if this president does and did in fact mean that is interested in taking Nigeria to the next level, naturally, if you're asking for a square peg in a square hole, Festus should be in the Justice Ministry. But unfortunately, the same person that was in charge of that ministry for 4 years is back there. So I don't know what next level means to those who support this presidency. And then, Aghogho, I heard you when you were talking, giving an analysis of, we now have a minister for special duties. We have a chief of staff to the president. We're talking about a country that is poor. I want to note that when I said hi to my brother, he said it could be better. If we're thinking about making things better, if we're thinking about taking this country to the next level, we shouldn't be enlarging the cost of governance. 4 years ago, our president told us that he was interested in cutting down the cost of governance. 4 years after, he's increasing the cost of governance. And then recently, just about 3 days ago, the Fowler, the man in charge of Federal Inland Revenue, did say that the reason there's been a dip or a drop in revenue accruing to government is because we're getting back into recession. That's his word. And now we're moving, if we're getting back into recession, our dear president is moving from 36 ministers or so to 43. I think that, I don't know how best to put it, but I think that we're moving 5 steps forward and 15 backward. I do not understand. And then for issues about, now we have a minister in charge of police affairs.
Yes.
We have someone who's in charge of interior. And some other people who are talking about, who are looking at these issues from the sectional and ethnic perspective, are beginning to say, oh, because you perhaps thought of making a Southerner a minister of interior, you decided to remove police affairs from it.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
But these are compelling issues.
And these are the issues we will
dwell
on.
The witch cried last night and the child dies this morning.
We'll delve into these matters, Chris. Hold on. We'll delve into these matters. But let's ask Lester what he thinks. First of all, Lester, do you agree with Chris? And then what are your thoughts on the portfolios that have been handed over to the ministers?
Well, my brother Chris, when I said it could be better, I'm only saying that that's my normal greeting, because for every situation, it's going to be better. Our prayers that our yesterday, individually and collectively, should be better than our tomorrow, and our today and our tomorrow. So that is just to put correction to that. With respect to the issues, I want for encouraging signing portfolios to these men and women of proven character and integrity that has been assembled. And correcting some of the obvious lapses that was identified in his first term. When he came in, he collapsed about 30-something ministries to 25. That's when he began to have some super ministries like that, when Fashola has to handle 3 ministries. Aviation was collapsed into transportation, and there's so many other ministries were collapsed together. 5 ministries from 36 or 37 used to be. So now that has been corrected, and if you look through the list, you discover that works and housing has been removed from power. Those two, that means, as a matter of fact, in the time of the previous administrations, housing was a different ministry, works was a different ministry, power there are 3. The now been collapsed into 2. Power is now off. And then if you again go through the list, there are some returning ministers. For instance, you have Fashola, who is going to remain in, he has left power now, he will remain in works
and housing.
Good. So it's a continuity of the project and the programs he started. At the time that a new minister is coming to do learning. If you look at my brother Rotimi Amechi is back to transportation. So there's going to be continuity. Seriki has been given a whole ministry now to run aviation. So discover that there has been some corrections. Now, my brother talked about the enlargement of the cabinet. We know the hue and cry that thrilled this the last time. The same people were shouting, oh, there should, because other governments had like 48. I remember Jonathan had 48 ministers. There has to be special interventions here and there from other places. So the representation of geopolitical entities becomes part and parcel of this administration. So we now have 43. Unfortunately, 2 came from one zone, which is the northwest zone, that has 7 states. So I don't think there was anything amiss. Now, no, I don't know if anybody wants to write off on as Minister of Science and Technology continuity. Back to labor and productivity continuity. Most back. Now, the new ministries that are created, special duty, it's not a strange ministry. Special duty is not a strange ministry. It has always been existing. It was the collapsing of the ministries to 25 that removed some of those ministries. And you're talking about police affairs has always been there. I can name all the ministers of police affairs in 1999 till date. It has always been there, but it was collapsed. So those collapsed ministries that maybe over-labored the ministers, not being able to address all the nitty-gritties of the administration, that has been corrected in this dispensation. So you discover that now there is going to be smaller ministries for people so that they can now be more efficient, more effective in the discharge of their responsibility. Yes, my brother, because I agree with you, the cabinet is enlarged, the cost of governance will go up. But again, if we look critically as to the real earnings of ministers, for me, it's peanuts. But the problem there is the under the table activities of ministers and those in government. That is what we should be fighting. Because really and truly, the take-home of ministers as initiated by the Revenue Motion and Social Colonial Committee is nothing. For me, it's a peanut. Anybody who has said that's the job on that side doesn't know what he's doing. Because this is the side that bank staff managers earn. That's what our ministers earn in terms of what is really appropriated for them. But it is the underhand table things which I and Chris should be talking about, not even their main salary. So these are the things that Nigerians should talk about. How to reduce cost of the number of ministers. For me, it's adequate for the ministries, and I begin to want to see them individually perform. Dr. Osage Ohere, he was Minister of State Health. He is now the full Minister of Health. Continuity.
Can I?
All right, Chris.
Chris
wants to respond to
yes, Chris,
some of
please
that.
go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, because my brother has just appropriated and then at the same time reprobated. If you're talking about continuity and if that is what the next level is hinged on, if these ministers have held the portfolios for 4 years and they have permanent secretaries, they have minister of states, why would you expand government if they have already understudied the protocol? Because I think my brother is saying one thing on the one hand and taking it back with the other hand. And I do sincerely disagree with him. The point is that what our dear president has just done is creating job for the boys. He's saying thank you to those who worked to get him reelected. But I do sincerely think that we should not sacrifice national growth and service on the altar of political patronage.
I'm glad you've gone there, Chris.
Our president has just done.
I'm glad you've gone there. Let's
I disagree too.
Hold on, gentlemen.
Continue.
Gentlemen, hold on. Let's talk about the individual portfolios now so that we can put a dent in this subject matter. Huh? Let's talk about somebody who's a newcomer. Aghogho, for instance, he's one of the biggest surprises, right? He's also a former governor from Osun State. He's now the Minister for the Interior. He's going to be overseeing the nation's internal security infrastructure, its customs service, and a lot of other arms of internal service delivery. Alester, how relevant is Aghogho's experience as a governor to the Interior Ministry?
Okay, good. Let me just correct you. Custom is not in the Interior Ministry. Custom is in the Ministry of Finance. So Interior, you talked about the what do you call it? Immigration, prisons, civil defense. Okay, police is not there any longer. Police has always been on their own. Now,
road safety.
Yeah, road safety and some of those other agencies that have to do with internal security.
All right, thank you.
Custom is with the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
Aghogho is has been in government for long. He was a commissioner in Lagos for 8 years. He's been a governor, and remember, governors are supposed to be the chief security officers of their state. He has received security briefings, so he's not totally a novice when it comes to governance or being a minister. He's not the one that is going to carry out the day-to-day thing of our borders and all what. His own is to ensure that resources are located properly and some form of reform are brought in with the help of his lieutenant that he works with. So, as a governor, run a state for 8 years and has been exposed to report, high caliber security report. I think he's fit. It doesn't take a special school to be the Minister of Internal Affairs. It's for him to harness all that his experience has given him along the years, because he has dealt with the police, he has dealt with the custom, he's dealt with immigration, he's dealt with civil defense as a governor. So he already has a grasp of what is required in that office, and so he can perform. If a sensitive ministry like aviation, maybe like the Attorney General's office, is what a non-lawyer cannot hold, because in that case you need somebody who is grasped in a legal dominion to hold that office. And of course, Malami has been there before, so Malami could continue in that state. Yes, all of us would have loved a Kayemu to be there. All of us I would have loved it, like my brother said, I would have loved a Kayemu to be there because he performed creditably well in terms of during the screening. He talked a lot, but he's in the cabinet, so they can always share ideas. If Malami is humble enough to seek his consent on issues, they're in the cabinet, and so nothing will be amiss totally, even though he will not be responsible. Taking the ministry that he was given, Niger Delta Affair, he's suited because he's from Niger Delta, so he knows the problem of Niger Delta, and he's fighting for the people of Niger Delta.
Yeah, but
let us give these people based on their individual capabilities and merits. Aghogho is capable because he has been exposed to all forms of security reports as a governor for 8 years, so he knows what is happening within the land.
Let me come to Chris Ezekwesili because of his maybe some part of your union activities in the past, and then your legal background to sort of look at someone like Abubakar Malami, where there's been a lot of criticism of the role he played in the past. I mean, the jury is out exactly whether he performed well with during the first term. And dovetail also too with comments Alesta made about Festus Keyamo going to work now because I see he's trained on social media. Now the prosecutor and the prosecuted. Prosecutor versus the prosecuted. But let's stay with Chris, please go ahead. Please stay with this one on what you make of that.
Let me say this, that even the greatest supporter of Muhammadu Buhari would not say that Malami scored 40 over 100 in his first term. They will not say that. We have controversies regarding monies that were paid concerning certain oil settlements. We had controversies about Malami visiting a fugitive from the law in Dubai. You know who I'm talking about. We have controversies about nolle prosequi entered into by Malami that jeopardized the interest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So if this government says it's interested in integrity, if this government says it cares about our country, why is it returning to that ministry? That's point number one. Then point number two, I want to say without fear of equivocation that certain individuals, look at Jedi Abba, for instance. Jedi Abba is known, or he's known for over 30 years of his life, is in the oil sector. And where are you putting him? Instead of putting him as Minister of State for Petroleum, since the president has said he's strong enough to manage the Ministry of Petroleum, but also saying that the ministers cannot go straight to him. They will have to. He's not strong enough to receive the ministers at will, but he's strong enough to manage the petroleum ministry. He says every minister has to go through his chief of staff. That's one thing you must look at. Now, instead of taking a professional in that field, he takes a Timi Priyesiba. Aghogho, this list, if we're being patriotic and true to our country, if we're not talking from two sides of the mouth, there are just a few square pegs and square holes in terms of the designation of portfolios. Outside that, it is political patronage away from service to our nation. And then let me give you another point regarding, and this is where I want to say, I said initially that my dear brother there, Lester, has succeeded in giving us one thing and then taking it back. He did talk about
Where did I take it back,
no, just watch. He did talk about the need to get the ministers very effective, so our dear president had to reduce the size of portfolio. But when he was talking about my dear friend and brother, Comrade Ralph Arebushola, he said, he doesn't have to be responsible for everything. So he accepts the fact that you have permanent secretaries, you have those who work with the ministers. So the argument about thinning down ministries for efficiency does not hold water. Our dear president has just gone to enlarge the cabinet because he wants to settle the boys. On Ralph Arebushola, I think, and I want to say this without fear of Okwerelo's critics, I think that he's good enough for the Minister of Interior, and I'll give you 3 reasons. In terms of developmental projects, apart from the issue about the salary and hoopla, from one of the least in terms of revenue accruing to Osun State, Ralph Arebushola took Osun State further ahead of states that earns so much money. So you see, I'm a dispassionate critic. I think that he will do well there. But I want to say that the time has come for us to put country before parties. Those who are defending this list are defending it because they don't want to be seen as disappointed by the president, because he has simply put square pegs in round holes and vice versa.
Okay.
And to move a country forward, you must put square pegs in square holes.
Now, Chris, when we come back from this break, I need to ask you about that salary problem that Ralph Arebushola had when he was governor in Osun State. Do you think he's going to be great? I want to know what you think is going to happen with the huge personnel he has to preside over as Minister of Interior. So that question's coming up.
Of fish at the federal level.
All right. So that question's coming up after the break. You're listening.
Can I make some submission?
You'll make that submission after the break. This is Hard Facts
all right.
on 99.3 Nigeria Info. You're listening to Sandra, Ezekwesili, and Aghogho Oboh. Leave us comments on Facebook. We're going to read them after the break as well. Don't go away.
Hard Facts will be right back. Is a paid announcement.
Hello, Nigeria.
Hey guys.
What's good? Anyways, your favorite duo, Deals Plug, we're here again. And of course, you know that every time we come on air, we definitely have something amazing for you. And this time, I am super excited.
Booyah! But then again, football has always been a vibe. And right now, you can even cash out on football.
I mean, right now, football is going to be a lot different because guess what? You can watch football, enjoy it, and then, of course, win cash prizes.
Yes, guys. So if you're a football fan and you feel you're the best predictor in the world, you can actually cash out by becoming a ref predictor. Put your predictive skills to the test by predicting the outcomes of 12 questions in selected football matches on refpredictor.com.
I mean, Ref Predictor is making football fun. I mean, I have to start watching this thing so I will be predicting and be winning because I need to win that money.
So you can compete with your family and friends and rivals for bragging rights, recognition and awards, and in addition you can win those massive cash prizes in a social and responsible way.
And even more, you can actually challenge your favorite radio pundits. I mean, Femi and the Gang, Ref Predictor, all your favorite radio sport journalists. Actually, you guys, you can compete with them and win cash prizes.
Now, to be a part of this breathtaking experience, simply sign up on refpredictor.com right now.
And it's very easy, guys. All you need to do to win all of these cash prizes that we're talking about is simply subscribe as a premium or premium plus member.
You can also participate absolutely free and win some sponsored prizes.
Ref Predictor League, the
Premier League for the fans.
That has been a paid announcement. Welcome back to Hard Facts.
Lagos, Nigeria, we are talking to you about President Buhari's ministers. Their portfolios were signed today. Helping us make sense of it all is Chris Nwokobia and Alester Wilcox. They're here, and we've been talking to them. Your comments are also on Facebook. Chube Bala says, Sandra, you guys are doing a great job. Bola Akimbami says, great. Keyamo campaigned in poetry during the screening at the National Assembly. Even if he was appointed Attorney General, he would have forced to be minister in established prose. I'm not sure I understand what that is. Rollins Ntangi says, almost the same persons, same portfolios, same brains, same ideas, same biological backgrounds. Another catastrophic and unquantifiable 4 years of trauma for Nigerians and those who wish her well. All right, keep those comments coming in on Facebook. Facebook is Nigeria Info FM. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho Oboh.
Now, before the break, one of our guests, Chris Nwokobia, talked about Rafa Aregbesola and his belief that he's going to do well. He also brought up the controversy about Aregbesola's inability to pay salaries. That controversy haunted Aregbesola when he was governor. Everybody has a different reason they blame, and I'm not going to get into all of that. At the end of the day, it boiled down to resource allocation during scarcity. And today, our security infrastructure also has scarce resources, trained personnel, equipment, money for salaries, and training. Now, Mr. Chris, as Interior Minister, Aregbesola will be the one allocating resources. Does the salary challenge in Osun State disqualify him?
No, let me say this. That's exactly why I said before you went on break that it's a different kettle of fish outrightly. When you're going to defend your budget, you put salary and emoluments of all the parastatals as part of the budget. You have everything well spelled out. It is not as in terms of the state. You have almost all the departments and ministries under you, and the lean resources, like you noted, was part of the challenge. And he had so much to chew. He was interested in developing. Osun State has about the best schools in this country today, has the best infrastructure compared to most of the states that received far more revenue than Osun State. But that he did not factor in effectively the salary is a minus for him. But regarding the federal level, you have all this factored in from the beginning of the year, and if there's a problem with regarding the other ministries, you will have a problem with your ministry in terms of salary. But if there's provision for all that, it's taken care of. I think that what is important here, and that's why I said that he will do well, is that he's a good man manager. If you know him well, you know what I'm saying. And then he has a labor and a civil society background that has helped him in terms of, if you remember, the food for school children feeding project has only been effectively successful. Mark my use of word, effectively successful only in Osun State. All the others about politics and gerrymandering. But I want to say here that what is important as we analyze these ministers is the fact that we must put country over partisanship. We must put patriotism over political considerations. And I say this advisedly. You did talk about the joke all over the social media today. A few months ago, it was Festus Keyamo prosecuting taking up issues in court against Akpabio. Under a government that is fighting corruption, Festus Keyamo is now the junior minister to the person he charged to court for corruption. And I think it's we're turning into a huge circus show. We're turning into a huge comedic enterprise. And that is why I think that people like my brother Lester Wilcox should look beyond partisanship and partisan interests and partisan support to put our country first.
Let's come to Alester. Alester, does the Niger Delta Ministry need a junior minister?
Okay, let me just address what Chris said with respect to Akpabio. I think Nigeria is a comic, like, what do you call it?
Comic relief.
Comedy show.
Satire.
And they turn everything to comedy. Brother Chris knows that lawyer that you are innocent until proven guilty. I'm not a friend, but the same people that tell you you are innocent until proven guilty are the same today that are saying because Kemu prosecuted Akpabio, therefore Akpabio is stained. Meanwhile, no court of law has convicted Akpabio. Chris knows that very well, and he supports those that have been discharged and acquitted, those that have been labeled criminals, even when they have not been convicted.
Chris is chuckling.
Now, the job of a prosecutor is not your enemy. Let's get that clear. The job is not your enemy. The judge can prosecute, can that it is not biased. That does not follow from him, brothers. Prosecutor does his job as a prosecutor based on the fact he has. That does not make us pass to enemies.
No, he's personalizing it. I'm talking about
no. That is what is happening today.
You're personalizing it. Corruption and country.
I'm not a friend of
individual.
Let me put that
corruption and country. Not personal relations.
I am one of those that is distasteful of Akpabio's antics in
Alester, Chris is raising a point. He's saying, I'm talking about corruption and country, not the individuals now.
Not personal relationship.
Why would it if country?
Alester, did you move around? Your line is breaking up.
Put in my zone.
Okay. All right.
Did any court convict Akpabio of any crime? Festus is the prosecutor. Yes, he's supposed to do his job. Look, a lawyer takes left and right. Festus is a lawyer. You take the brief of A against B to make her take the brief of B against A. That is what they do. Chris knows it. Chris is a lawyer. The brief tomorrow brief. So, and that is their profession. Therefore, it does not stain the relationship. It does not stain the culture. Now, if Akpabio is corrupt, which to me, I am not a friend of Akpabio, I keep saying it. I do not have the background. I can only.
Why is he not a friend of Akpabio? Why is he not in support
there is
of
Akpabio? Both of them are not enemies, not morally.
Alester, your line is breaking up.
No, I'm hearing you clearly.
No, but we are not hearing you clearly. Your line is breaking up.
No, sorry. I think I can hear you very, very clearly.
Okay, yes. So back to the question that I asked you. You've addressed Chris's point, but back to the question. Do we need a junior minister of the Niger Delta?
If you ask me, I think we do not.
Okay.
Because even they always have junior and senior ministers in that ministry. It's a small ministry. Not to belittle the enormous responsibility attached to that ministry. But for me, I think that's a very small ministry, a micro ministry that may not need two ministers. But who am I to determine what it has been happening? They've always had two ministers. So I think Festus will have been more effective in maybe some other ministry, maybe even the sports ministry, communication ministry.
Let me come to you, Chris, on this story on this
issue. Deputy Attorney General, since you don't always have a deputy Attorney General, there is no way he can be in the justice ministry. But he's in the cabinet and can offer advice. And if both of them see the reason for them.
I kindly put you on a pause so we can get back to Chris Iwokobia on this issue of if we take out maybe Babatunde Raji Fashola, who had better fortunes as a governor compared to Rauf Aregbesola in Osun State in terms of what he was able to do, but you cannot compare in terms of the revenue coming to both states. And look at what he did as a super minister with works, power, and housing. Now he's only Minister of Works and Housing, and I've seen a number of comments saying our power situation is back to status quo. Ironically, he did face a lot of criticism while he was Minister of Power over comments he had made previously, and then he said, I didn't make those comments. But what do you think about Raji Fashola?
Let me say this. First, the smallest state in this country is actually not even Bayelsa State, it's Lagos State in terms of land mass. But Lagos has the highest population. Lagos is amongst the 5 richest states in this country. So if Fashola did so well, quote unquote, as a governor, it does not naturally translate, it will not have naturally translated to his performance as a minister. Let me say this, because Fashola was handed 3 ministries, very difficult ministries. And I think that initially, don't forget Aghogho, that I was one of the supporters of Buhari in the campaigns. Those were part of the... And Fashola would tell everybody in the world that of all his personal friends, I was the only one who sent to him a prayer like Awolowo would send to Gowon those days. I said to him, the challenge on your shoulders is so much that a normal shoulder will cave in. I do not envy you, but I'll pray for you. That's what I sent to him. And I am saying clearly that I am not surprised, and so many people who understand the challenge of the power, works, and housing ministry were not surprised. You know, I think that the time has come for people to learn to be truthful first to themselves and to nation. You know, Fashola did not do well in that ministry because he had so much to contend with, he had so much to chew, and it is good that they've broken the ministry into 2. He still has works and housing to contend with, and then power has been given to another person. But I want to say here that what is important, like who was saying, I listened to Alesta, and he considered to the fact that creating 2 ministers out of the Ministry of Niger Delta is a laughable programmatic. But let me say this, that what we cannot take away from this reality is that whenever you hear people who are defending President Muhammadu Buhari, they tell you it happened in the past. It happened in the past. It happened in the past. But what we promised Nigerians in 2014, 2015 was change.
All right, Mr. Iwokobia.
Every time those who preach change benchmark change with the past, I ask myself, what happened to our conscience?
Yes.
Is there an age of
but let me ask you this. You've been saying since we started this conversation that the people who support the president and the politicians need to put the country first. Isn't President Buhari indicating that Fashola did not perform up to expectations in the power sector, which is why he has given it to somebody else, and by extension, he's putting the country first?
I want to say here that in breaking that ministry, of course, we called for it to be broken. I told you what happened the moment he was handed over those 3 portfolios, and my reaction, you know, when something is done rightly, we would say it is done rightly. But overall, I am saying, and I'm saying here without equivocation, that the preponderant assignments of portfolios is lacking in that normative, which of course calls for square pegs and square holes. Our president has just created more jobs for the boys. Our president is interested in compensating those who helped him get a contentious mandate. Our president has refused to understand that If Nigeria succeeds, it is to his praise. If he fails, it is to his disservice. And I think that those who are around him must understand that the next 4 years, that is if the court does not rule otherwise, is a big challenge for not only the APC, but for Nigerians generally. Hunger is indiscriminate of your party. Insecurity is indiscriminate of whether you're PDP or APC. Those who are dying of suicide and suicidal proclivities, we do not ask which party they belong to or which candidate is supported. So I think that the time has come for us to, like I insist consistently, put country first and put partisanship in the background.
Alesta,
that's the only way we can take this country
Alesta,
forward.
I have to ask you this. In taking power away from Fashola, and out of the 3 portfolios, power was the highest profile. It was the most critical. Why would the president take that one from him instead of, say, housing, if he were satisfied?
I want to agree with this on putting country first. And I think the opposition who are opposed to President Muhammadu Buhari should learn to put the country first and not put party or position or personality before country. I'm not a member of any. I'm not a member of APC. I have always said that clearly. I don't have a card.
Yes, but back to my
question.
My
brother Chris has a card of a party. I don't.
I'm not a member.
I don't have a card of any party.
Yes, but
so
back to my question.
So I'm make that clarification. I'm putting country first.
Okay.
Now we all agree. In fact, right? That you said the meeting was downsized from 35 to 25, so collapsing of a lot of ministries. Everybody was clear that it wasn't going to work because for that to handle 3 gigantic works alone is itself equivalent and to power. Now, let us also be clear about what the power infrastructure and architecture that this government inherited. And sometimes you just complicate things for people and you confuse the people. And the critics always not tell the people the truth. Good. Now, if somebody says Fashola didn't perform as power, you should know of Fashola's involvement in power and how he had to work around the system he inherited. Before this government came to power, the power architecture has been sold off. The generation was sold off.
Yeah, but Fashola made promises.
Hold on.
He made promises. The APC made promises.
Hold on.
They were supposed to go from 5,000 to 10,000.
Listen now, madam. Hold on. That's why people confuse the people more.
No, we're not confusing. We're clarifying.
At the time Fashola made the statement that everybody's holding on to, we have NEPA, where the federal government controls generation, transmission, and distribution.
No, that's not true. No, that is not true.
Well,
absolutely untrue.
But let us do that. Now, when they had power architecture in the generation, the generation was sold, what have a transmission. So all that Fashola was supposed to look after was transmission. But because of the poor sale of the poor and the poor way the mechanization of the power infrastructure was handled, we discovered that the government had to start working both with the generation and the same time with the distribution. And everybody blames Fashola. Now, the government has done a lot under this government to increase generation capacity, to increase the transmission capacity. By the time they came in, the transmission capacity was like 3,000 megawatts. Transmission capacity. But we have raised that to over 5,000. Meanwhile, generation used to be 4,000, which they have raised that to almost 10,000. But because you cannot transmit, transmission facility is still low. They inherited about 3,000. They now upgrade to over 6,000. About 6,000. I don't have the figures. I'm trying to Google it out. But
we're struggling. We're trying to get to 5,000. We haven't.
No. We've gotten to transmission has gotten to over 6,000.
That's not accurate, sir.
Transmission?
That's not accurate, sir.
Google the power. Go and Google the power sector.
We're struggling to do 5,000. It's not accurate, sir.
Capacity. Yes. Listen, madam. The capacity is over 6,000.
Transmission.
But you know that transmission capacity, generation has reached almost 10,000. But because you cannot transmit.
No, that is not true too.
Let us get it clear. Let's get our facts. This is in the public domain every day.
I am.
And the problem now is distribution. That's the problem. distribution is the problem.
The distribution is not more than 5,000.
Distribution is the problem because the GenCos, these are currently, in fact, they are even the major problem in terms of distribution. Even though they can transmit, have this distribution allocated to them because they believe that we need to give prepared. So these are the problems. I'm not holding me for government. I don't for government. I'm a friend. I tell you that for free.
Okay. All right, gentlemen.
We must put the information clearly to the people,
all right,
so that the people can see it as they want to treat it.
I will give Mr. Mr. Wilcox. Hold on. I'm going to give Mr. Nwokobia a chance to respond to what you have said, but that's going to happen after this break. So we're going to ask that you please hold on. Don't forget that we're taking your comments off of Facebook, and after the break, we'll take your calls as well. You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. President Buhari has ministers. They have their portfolios, and we're looking at them on this show.
.3 Nigeria Info.
Is a paid announcement.
Hello, Lagos, Nigeria. Here is an announcement coming to you from Sekodi Solar Energy. Sekodi Solar is some energy community development initiative, and they are the dealers and sellers of solar appliances such as smart bulbs, intelligent bulbs, solar fridge and freezers, solar TV, charge controller, solar cars, and a host of others. And they are inviting the public to the first solar car exhibition, which is taking place at number 24 Lateef Jakande Road, opposite Cadbury, Agidingbi, Ikeja. It is happening on Saturday, the 24th of August 2019, and the date is exactly 10 and the time is exactly 10 a.m. Okay, and if you're an interested distributor, you can contact on 090-230-51585, 090-230-51585, or you can also reach out on 080-5325-8474. And of course, you can visit their office at number 5 John Olugbo Street off Unity Road, Ikeja, Lagos.
That has been a paid announcement.
It's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
The headline news on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has moved to lure foreign investors to support Nigeria's weakened currency. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal on Wednesday in Abuja reserved its judgment on the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has listed Obasanjo Farms, Davido Music Worldwide Limited, and popular supermarket Adide among the over 19,000 tax defaulters. The newly sworn-in Minister of State for Petroleum, Timi Silva, has assured that he will work effectively for the growth of the ministry and the country at large. The Alliance for Democracy and its governorship candidate Owolabi Salis, along with his Labour Party counterpart Ifegbemi Awamaridi, has filed a motion ex parte before the Lagos Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. The Nigerian Communications Commission says it recorded over 200,000 complaints from January 2015 till July 2019. Stakeholders have expressed concern over the federal government's plan to enforce a 5% value-added tax on all online transactions. The Nigerian Stock Exchange market indices shed 0.21% due to losses in some blue chips. Migrant families who cross the southern border of the U.S. illegally could be detained indefinitely under a new regulation announced by President Trump's administration. And finally, China has threatened to impose sanctions on U.S. firms involved with the scale of F-16 fighter planes to Taiwan if Washington goes ahead with the deal. And that's our headline news at 5. We'll bring you more stories at 6. Details of some of the stories you've heard right now will feature at that time, so don't miss it. We're analyzing the ministerial list, the portfolios that have been attached to President Buhari's ministers. We have Chris Mwokobia and Alesta Wilcox on the show with us. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho Oboh. And so, Mr. Wilcox and Mr. Wokobia. Hello.
I'm with you, sir.
Okay, brilliant.
I'm here.
We have a great discussion so far. And we're looking at, in case you just joined the conversation on 99.3 Nigeria Info, this is also going online, and we would open the lines at some point so we can entertain your calls and messages. Mr.
Wokobia was supposed to respond
yes,
to Mr.
respond
Wilcox.
to. So please go ahead, Chris Wokobia.
Yeah, Aghogho, and
Sandra.
Let me say this. That I listened to my brother Lester struggle so effusively to explain why we're still in darkness. And but he started with really wrong statistics. And I say this with every sense of humility, that I know my brother to be forthright, but since he has refused to understand that the reality of now calls for that forthrightness to be at the fore, I will put the figures right. When we were campaigning in 2014 and Fashola made the statement that he seems to be denying today, that every responsible government can fix the energy problem in about 6 months. The energy system, structure had been deregulated, decentralized. It has been sold. So his information about isn't correct. That's point number one. Then point number two, generation hasn't risen more than 7,500 megawatts effectively. And in the past 7 months, we have had 2 collapses of the national grid, such that it even came down to about 3,000. That's point number one. And then again, another fact that you must know, at no point has this government raised distribution more than 5,200 megawatts. And the reason I'm doing this is because you call your program Hard Facts. I want to say here that what is important is that we must take to heart that inimitable words of Walter Scott. Sir Walter Scott said, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive." And good men like Lester should come forthright to the Nigerian estate and the Nigerian people, because we can together make this country better. We don't have to present failures. We have on our hands the most lethargic and the most mediocre watch that our country has had within the past. And look at it. Lester, if you look through our record, you find out that even the ministers we had under the horrible years of locusts that we call the PDP watch, we still remember more of their ministers by name than we even know those who are, because these ministers are lethargic and uneventful. and some of them have returned. Look at the Minister of Education. What has happened within our educational sector in the past 4 years? How much improvement have we registered and recorded? And then Adamu is returning back. And do you know why he's returning back? Just like Malami, he's personal with the president. Malami was his personal lawyer. Adamu was a very good friend of his and wrote very fine advertorials and write-ups about him. And so it's about compensating loyalty. But I think that the time has come for us to put our country first. And that's the passionate thing I'm talking about. It is not about how we perceive. Nobody hates President Muhammad Buhari. But I love Nigeria more. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It is not about defending the indefensible. We must call a spade by its name. Did Fashola do well in the energy sector? No. Did he do well in the power sector? No. That's why they've taken it away from him. And I think that what we must do is not continue to defend it. Now the new minister designate, or the new minister in charge of power, we pray he gets down to the brass facts and works to make our energy sector, the power sector, better. That's the fundamentals. I do sincerely believe that when we read our facts and figures, we shouldn't do them because we want to defend mediocrity or failure. We should do that because we want to challenge our country to greater heights. That's my passion and that's my commitment.
All right, then let's take a few calls now. 01277. Yes, you're going to address his points, Mr. Wilcox, after we take a few calls, okay? Thank you. 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. We've been taking thoughts from our guests on the show today. We've got loads of your comments on Facebook as well. Olusegun David Ajala, for instance, says, how can we say that transmission is more than 10,000? Which country is that? You're mixing Nigeria up for another country. More comments here. Larry Starboy says that we are he's enjoying the program, and we have other comments coming in as well. We'll take a look at them as the show goes along. John is in Yaba. Hello, John. Welcome.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Okay, what I really want from the government right now is let them change the policy of electricity. You know how telecoms is running. Telecoms and banking in Nigeria. Let them just give the policies that anybody that has the money can invest. We don't want all these that megawatt. Let them just say, okay, the policies have been changed. If you have the money, you invest. Finish.
Nice one.
Nigeria will be changed instantly. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for calling and sharing your thoughts.
Quickly before I forget it?
Mr. Wilcox, please hold on. Hello? Hello? Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead. What's your name,
This
sir?
is Bryce from Kodo.
Bryce, go ahead.
Yeah, please, this less of a man. You people should stop featuring on this program. They don't want us to.
All right, let's be respectful of our guests when we call onto the show. You may not like their opinions, but be respectful when you call into the live show. Comrade Obanang is calling us. Obanago is calling us. Let's talk to Comrade Obanago now. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, Comrade Obanago Mohammed Ibrahim.
Yes, go ahead.
I think at this stage, already there is nothing we can do at this stage rather than to preach and to see how we will now start praying for these ministers and the president. Start giving them a roadmap on how to move this country forward. All what we are saying now is nothing but to put them on track and said, since you have been assigned to this, this is what you do. We are watching you, and you must do it correctly. So all this blame game, I think, is not necessary at this juncture. Good evening.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Obanago. Thanks for calling. Our final call, and then we'll come to you, Mr. Wilcox. Is a Motor Show who's in Surulere. Hello, Motor Show. Welcome.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Sandra.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much for those people that actually help to enlighten us. But my constraint about the two guests here is that I've been able to see that the other caller, or his name is Alex, or what his name, was actually on point with what we actually want to hear.
Okay.
But my major order on from the other end is that if we have someone that is trustworthy and you included him or her in the cabinet, are you expecting him to go and look for his enemy to actually feature them. What we should just join hands for this great nation of ours is that we try our best possible to pray for those people to actually perform beyond our expectations. And when you come on air, you come and discuss this particular issue, there is an aim you want to achieve therein. And that aim is what we are discussing right here today. So we should just join hands and support them.
Omotosho, thanks for calling us. Mr. Wilcox, over to you.
Yes, I want to correct the first tweet you read. I never said distribution. I said that is the problem. We have too many distortions in our analysis. Distribution mission is 7,000. Generation is inching up to 10. Most times we have shortfalls, we have breakdowns. And again, the government did some things. They now do micro power stations like they did for Ariara Market, they did for this market in Lagos Island. Some of those micro things. And now they are encouraging universities to create their own power system. These are some of the reforms. Nobody expects that there will be a magic wand from Fashola or from Buhari, and then we rose up to 10,000 megawatts in one day. It can't happen. Moreover, means our porous economic state and the revenue resources of the country. So we must put that in perspective. And then for me too, it grieves my heart when you come up and do a blanket disruption of everybody in a system. For 4 years, nobody, my brother Chris will not tell that he has seen any development in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the roads are getting better from where we came from. We see that pensioners are being paid as a when due. Federal workers do not have salary issues. We see that things are developing. I'm talking.
Chris,
you respond when he's done.
Okay,
Chris.
yes. Okay, Lester, wrap up.
But you see, you see, nobody says they've seen anything. There's evolution in agriculture. We might not have gotten to the level where we want self-sufficiency. There's evolution going on. And so this is how a nation is built. These are men and women that the president has assembled. These are some of them has whole responsible positions. You might not be satisfied with that level, but to say nothing is happening, it's a disservice and a demarcation of your country. Let us put country first, because we are saying first. Nobody that don't have challenges.
Right,
and I'm telling you for free.
Yeah.
Even UK has over 42 ministers. UK has over 46 ministers as we count, because every department has a minister.
All right, Lester, just we'll butt into your
comments. That is wrong.
All right, Lester. Chris, because I know we can go over and over this entire point about whether anyone has performed or not.
Before hard facts.
Let me take you this, Chris Iwokobia. You can come back maybe later on to this one.
That's quite
lost
unfortunate.
The connection there with this is Chris Iwokobia's
Chris Iwokobia's connection. We lost that connection. We're going to try and get him back on the line. But you were going to ask a question?
Yeah, Lester Wilcox still there, right?
Yes, he is.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so we'll get Chris back on the line immediately. I said we could go back and forth about whether anyone has performed or not, but let's look at someone like Chris Ngige, is the Minister of Labour and Productivity. Incidentally, he's the one who's been making comments over the face-off with the university lecturers, and coincidentally, you have non-academic staff union and the senior staff association of Nigerian universities on the third day of industrial action, shut down across the entire country. And if there was anyone who was going to be very who would groan at the fact that Chris Ngige was coming back, would have been the health sector or anyone who is going to go on strike shortly, and they have Chris Ngige to deal. In fact, when the president called out Chris Ngige's name, he chuckled. The wahala you're going to have to face is right before you again. What do you think?
Sincerely, I will have happier if Chris Ngige was relieved from that portfolio. He has to contest. He's a strong man. He's not the best of friends for Labour. In fact, they even kicked that he should not be brought back. Not because of his strong-headedness. You know how he was able to fight his godfather in Anambra? He was a very strong-headed individual. So, and he was able to also manage the quarters of the Labour. He's not an experienced Labour activist, yes, but he was able also to manipulate. Yes, I have a lot of information about him. I wish he had been a relief from that. It is really, he had to contend with several industrial disputes. Well, the president might have a reason for retaining him, maybe for the continuity. I do not know why he retained, but I will say he will have had, he will have been maybe sent to maybe the health ministry or some that he could have had some respite from the headache and the many wars he has fought. He is not a totally bad minister, but sometimes his strong-headedness is always pushing some of the antics to the limit that sometimes will come to the industrial crisis. 4 years, well, he will have learned a lot, and I want to wish him well at this stage, and let there be more cooperation between him and the labor unions.
Okay. All right, Mr. Wilcox. Let's take some more comments. We've got comments on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. 080-959-75805. Do we have comments, Gab?
Well, comments are pouring in like a flood, but I think it's settled now. So
you can take some.
Good. This is Oluwa Tuboso, who says that I really appreciate the guest, but I'm afraid I don't appreciate this portfolio attached to or given to some of the ministers. And there it goes again. I can get some more as quickly as possible, eh? And now it's hung.
Okay.
So keep them coming in, but don't hang my tab. I have to get all those messages out as quickly as possible.
We have comments on Facebook as well, and I'm trying to read those comments. But while that's happening, let's talk to you on the phone, 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. Mr. Wilcox. Yeah, so let me talk to you about some more of these ministers. The president has given the ministers a directive, right? That if they want to see him, they should direct their request for an appointment through his chief of staff, Abba Kyari. Now, opinions are split on this particular matter. Some people are saying this is normal, to better control how the president's time is used. In other climes in America, where we copied our democracy from, that's how things are done. But you have people who have said this is a bad idea because it gives the chief of staff too much power. I have to also say that some people also say that the previous presidents, past presidents, have done this. This is how it's always been done. But the people who say that it gives too much power to the chief of staff say that it makes it difficult for ministers to see the president. On which side do you fall?
Well, Sandra, I've not worked in government before. I don't even know how it looks like. I wish one day I'll feel and how it looks like. But I want to believe that the function of the chief of staff is to create the balancing for the president, so that the president is relieved of everybody working in. That's the office of the chief of staff, and so he has to perform that office. Every state governor has a chief of staff. In fact, some of them become more powerful. I remember one of the problems between Rotimi Amechi and as governor and Nyesom Wike as chief of staff was the fact that he especially stopped everybody from getting close to Amechi and then created more enemies for him as at that time. That's one of the things that have been rumored. So chief of staff are very powerful. They are the last line of defense. Now, for effective, I do not think that some should be fully legalistically because there are urgencies. There are issues that are of urgent national importance, except the chief of staff will be his ears and his responsibility will be in tandem with the president's vision. Because, yes, it might make him too powerful. If he doesn't like as a minister, or if you follow with him, or if there's any issue, he might block from the president. Because people too are personal, they have personal interest. So no matter how urgent that national assignment, that national interest might be, he might block it because it's not in his good books. That can always happen. But if the chief of staff is somebody that is in tandem with the views, aspiration of the president, and like Chris said, putting country first before individuals, then there should no problem. And when an urgent issue, I think the chief of staff is somebody to the president if they give the final nod to such a thing. And also therefore, or quickly a meeting to bring up their issues and they are discussed. I have not gone to the council, but I want to believe that every issue that the minister has should be discussed in the council. And again, it's also good because the ministers, the president is not giving the ministers a leeway, a free hand to do their jobs. Or before, when everything you must go and get approval for the president. Now, the president do their job. If there's a need to see me, see the chief of staff and then arrange a meeting. So they're giving free hand to do their job. Now the focus is on them to justify that free hand. Not being free hand to do their job. The budgets are being signed, so the president does not have to sign their budget. If the budget pass, the next budget, if the provide you to budget ministry, it's no longer the president. The president has his own job cut out for him. So you let him do his own job, and you do your own job as a minister. And then you need to see the issue.
All right, Alester Wilcox.
Let it not.
Yeah. All right, Alester.
Urgency is I mean, that's that thing.
Thank you very much, Alester Wilcox. Always a pleasure.
Please, I need his views.
Say that again?
I hope Chris is back with this Chris' views, though.
Oh, we're having difficulty connecting with Chris
We
also.
actually-
Please, let's try.
Yes, but until we have him back, we seem to be able to have gotten him back on the line, it appears. I'm fingers crossed. So let's wait a few. If he is back on the line, we'll keep talking. Otherwise, we'll just end the conversation with you and go back to taking calls.
Right,
Now,
let me get some. I think I get some comments now on
yes,
WhatsApp while
fantastic.
we're trying to connect with.
We have Chris on the
Wokobia.
line now. Fantastic.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, Chris Wokobia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, welcome back, my brother.
Sorry about the misconnection.
Sorry, we missed you a bit there.
I can understand.
Yes, we had trailed up. But let me take some comments on WhatsApp, Chris and Alester, quickly. Good evening with the ministers. With questionable records, I really don't expect much from this cabinet. Compounded by the nepotistic nature, it calls the administration, calls a lot to question. Chike is from Akute. Who else can I see here? Okay, I have that one already. Festus Keyamo versus Godswill Akpabio is equal to prosecutor and defense in the same cabinet. Fight against corruption from this one here.
Jatawo George on Facebook says, I've gone through the list and most annoying is giving Niger Delta Affairs 2 ministers. Giving Ngige labor is a waste and the nation will witness more labor unrest. Do you have more comments?
Yeah, let's see this one. Eliazu Sylvester from Olodi Apapa says, I hate this administration with passion, but let the truth be told, power really improved under Fashola. I haven't put on my generator at night for more than 2 years now. I would have wished Fashola retained the Ministry for Power only.
Really?
Interesting comment.
Where does he live? I'd like to move there. But where does he live?
Interesting comments that he does live in. But I trailed off with you, Chris Wokobia, on Chris Ngige's comeback, even though the Unionist would not want to see him again because of certain stubbornness. Alester Wilcox seems to agree that Chris Ngige exhibits. Also, too, President Buhari retains his position as Minister of Petroleum. That also attracted a lot of comments. What do you think about these two personalities, Chris Wokobia?
First, when I started initially, you remember I talked about our president who has told every minister that they have to go through the chief of staff to get access to him. And then our president obviously needs a lot of rest, and he still wants to hold the most problematic and critical ministry in our country. And I wonder, that again is where I ask myself, those who advise our dear president, what do they tell him? You know, regarding Ngige, remember that when they were signing out the cabinet 2 days before handle, that organized labor did say that they wouldn't want, the Minister of Labor is not supposed to be a fool. He's supposed to help government work with organized labor. And then why are you returning Ngige to organized labor where he already has problems with them? These are issues, and that's why when I talk about country, some people don't seem to understand what we're talking about. We have to, first of all, look beyond the person of our president and think about how this country works well. Ngige is going to start with the problems with labor because they're already dusting up their hearts for a dwell. Now, how they reconcile and how they get by that is another kettle of fish. Now, I want to say before, when I said hard facts before I went off, my dear brother mentioned the number of people who are in the British cabinet. You have the on substantive ministers and under ministers. And then what happens in Britain? How much are they paid? How wealthy is Britain? How successful is that system? You actually have e-government and e-governance. You actually have everything working. Why are we doing this to our country? We import the things that suit us. We mention figures. When in actual fact, we don't have their kind of real system. We don't have a working structure. And then, so if Britain has 1,000 ministers, we should have 1,000 ministers in Nigeria. Is that the argument? I think that the time has come for us to really deepen our discourse and our debate. We must banish this age of unreason and put our country, like I always insist, first. And then let me say here that our dear president should do us well by letting someone, a competent hand, manage the Ministry of Petroleum. That's my advice. It is not too late. Mandela, let me say, Sarah, let me say this, that our dear Madiba said something once. It's never too late to do right. It's never late to do right. It doesn't matter whether he has appointed himself yesterday Minister of Petroleum or today, and then tomorrow he says, countrymen, I think that we need an effective hand to manage this ministry. I want to busy myself with coordinating all of them, so I don't want to handle the office of Minister of Petroleum. It's not difficult.
Yeah, but speaking of coordination, speaking of coordination, Mr. Nwokobia, before you, while you were away, I asked this question of Wilcox as well. The president gave the ministers a directive that if they want to see him, they should direct their request for an appointment through his chief of staff, Abba Kyari. And I mentioned that opinions on this particular matter are split. Some people are saying it's normal so that the president can better control how his time is used. And then they point out that previous presidents do this. Presidents in other developed climes do this. And then you have others who have said this is a bad idea because it gives the chief of staff too much power and it might make it difficult for ministers to see the president. Where do you fall, or what side do you fall?
Let me say this, and I'll say this frontally. What we are building, why didn't he say that in 2014, 2015? Those who defend the indefensible can continue to do colossal damage to our collective sensibility. Why are we so prone to defending anything and then lying in the course of it? He didn't say that in 2014, 2015. Why is he saying it now? His doctors told him to have more rest. That's the simple logic. And then when we talk about the duties of the chief of staff, if the chief of staff doesn't like any minister, he could frustrate his say in the president. Now, what is important is that it's obvious, like when we said a few months ago, that we're increasingly having a prosy presidency. We're actually having a chief of staff who is becoming the de facto president. And our dear president has confirmed that. It is a tragedy of sorts for our country, because at the end of the day, governance will suffer. At the end of the day, people will have problems with the presidency and within the presidency also. Let me say this, that I listened to a few callers who talked about the need for prayers. This is the most religious country on planet Earth. We love God so much that we are godless. We love God so much that we are cruel and wicked. We love God so much that nobody cares about the next man. And then when we talk about prayer, God has given us all the abilities to thrive and to do well. So you can only pray for effective action when people are committed to doing so, to working well. Here, I'm not going to pray for a Buhari who does not want to understand the urgency of now, to understand it. I will criticize him. I will challenge him to understand the urgency of now. That is exactly what happens all over the world.
All right, Chris.
You don't pray. People don't ask for prayers when
Can I come in there, please?
All right. Make leaders responsible and responsive to proactive criticism. That's what we need in this country. We must pick up.
All right, Chris Nwokobia, we'll take that as your final and closing remarks on this great day of activities in Abuja, the ministerial appointment and portfolios. So I give Lester Wilcox, I'll give you just a minute and a half to wrap up.
Okay. Aghogho, I think anybody who is thinking that the president is ill or not strong to carry on, good luck to him. The same president that they have said he was a vegetable, he was this, he was that, and then God proved all of them wrong, and today the president is kicking healthy and alive, and he's still strong. So if then whatever thing they said about the president didn't materialize, anything anybody's saying now will just be like water being put into the basket, and the president is strong. He will remain strong by the grace of God. I'm talking about our country. I will never subscribe to demarketing my country. I will not say everything is rosy. We have challenges, which even Israel today, as developed as Israel is, have challenges. Every day have challenges, and people are working around the clock, putting one brick upon the other to address them. There are issues. Everybody is not competent to the level we want them to be.
All right,
if today Atiku has won the election, there has not been a magic one from anybody.
All right, we'll leave it at that, Lester.
We must criticize, but we must also put the path clear and support the country, because it's our country. We don't have another country to run to. We must remain here and salvage it together.
Gentlemen, yes, thank you for joining us on Hard Facts.
Always a pleasure. Lester Wilcox, Chartered Accountant, Public Affairs Analyst, thank you very much for being on Hard Fact today.
It's always my pleasure, Aghogho, anytime.
And Chris Nwokobia, who is the founder of Country First Movement, as well as a legal practitioner. Thank you very much, Chris Nwokobia.
God bless Nigeria.
Okay. All right. We're going to take your calls now. 01277-0993. After the break, we'll take your comments as well off of Facebook, Nigeria Info FM. If you're watching via Twitter, it's Nigeria Info FM as well. We're streaming this conversation, and we'll continue this conversation all the way until 7 on I Beg to Differ. This is what we'll talk about as well. We're going to focus on this particular conversation that is splitting the conversation, the part where we have the president saying, if you want to see me as a minister, go through my chief of staff. It's splitting the people, on either side. And it's a great topic to discuss, to debate on I Beg to Differ. But after the break, let's talk about all of the points that have been raised by our guests on this analysis of President Buhari's ministers and their portfolios. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
Hard Facts will be right back. Welcome back to Hard Facts.
Yes, indeed. It is 26 minutes to 6. Who can we talk to first? 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. Bolongo Kimbami says, Chris is spot on Kayamo Akpabio reporting relationship. It is good authority. It is on good authority that your sins are forgiven the moment you cross carpet into APC. Agwama Lion Chilo Tam Linus on Facebook says, Nigeria is going backwards again. Who is doing this to Nigeria? Can you see Kayamo under Babio? We have entered one chance, so he says. Okay. Jumpo Hadeju, I'm so sorry if I did not say your name right, says, what gives us the impression that Festus Kayamo will go beyond his limit as Minister of Justice? He's actually not Minister of Justice. He is State Minister of the Niger Delta. Minister of Justice is Abubakar Malami. We've got more comments on Facebook. This one is... All right, I think we've taken all of these before. So let's go to the newer comments coming in. Here's a message from John Tekena Peterson who says, Wilcox is not an APC member, but he's a sympathizer of the APC. Maxwell is at the airport. Hello, Maxwell. Welcome.
God bless you, Sandra.
Bless you as well.
Yes, and Aghogho, yeah, you're doing a nice job there.
Thank you very much. Please, your comments.
In fact, I like the conversation. It's your hard part.
Good.
Talk about Minister Akpabio, the Niger Delta Affairs, and it's what do you call it?
Minister for State.
Okay.
Festus Kayamo.
But the thing is that they should give Akpabio a chance to develop Niger Delta. He can do the job if at all. To give him whatever it takes. Despite whatever, maybe at the time he was a governor, and the time he now defected to APC, maybe he wants to develop the Niger Delta also. So, our presidents have tried for that sector, but despite whatever people may say, so I think they will be like brothers and sisters. Thank you. God bless Sandra.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maxwell. Bless you too. How about Aghogho? God should bless Allah. Akin is in Ogun State. Hello, Akin. Welcome.
Hello.
Yes, welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. And Labour having problem with Ngige. I think we are getting things wrong here.
Okay.
Even the Labour confirmed that under him there were less conflicts. That is strike.
Have you been paying attention to what's happening with Labour and Ngige? Because they actually came out and said, don't reappoint him.
The facts here. Even the Labour Union said it, that there were less strike under him.
The Labour Union also said...
The clashes between him and the Labour. He was fighting for his right. Remember, the VP installed a chairman of a board where they want Kokori. Whereas it's the duty of the minister in our law to choose and install that chairman of that board. I've forgotten the name of the board.
Yeah, it's a Labour.
That was the clashes between them.
But you know, you know the irony. Yesterday we had a discussion on our community report where we had the SANU vice president in Unilag, and you know what he said. He said, if I have one prayer with this ministerial is let Ngige not come back as Minister of Labour. I said, why? He said he doesn't believe he has the best interest of the unions.
Out of how many?
No, we've also had other Labour leaders,
most of the Labour
express that same sentiment. No, but that you've gone on less strikes doesn't mean that the Labour leaders want you there. I know.
They are trying to install somebody out of their power.
Did you hear Chris Ngige's comments on the sidelines of the retreat yesterday?
No, I'm talking of our constitution here now. Does the Labour Union have the right to install a chairman of a board?
Of the Labour board? Oh, okay, that's separate. But I'm also saying too that did you hear Chris Ngige's?
He was fighting for his right. They want to install Kokori, but he said no. You can't install him behind me.
Okay. Put
the right person by the constitution to install him.
Put that aside and look at Chris Ngige as a negotiator with the Labour unions and as well as professional union bodies and how he resolved How would you assess him?
Sir?
Yeah, please go
If
ahead.
I'm to assess him, I will assess him according to the strike I have under him.
Okay.
Excuse me. That is just mine. And I think we should give them time to perform.
Okay.
Before condemning all of them. Thank you and God bless you.
All right. Thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts. Godwin is in Yaba. Hello, Godwin.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Godwin, please go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, the deed has been done. The president has chosen. He has allocated, and there's nothing we can do but just to, according to my big friend Chris, we keep on correcting them and criticizing them. That's all I think we can be doing. Only what I'm against is repeating Dr. Chris Ngige in that same position. Because he's going back there to meet a group of protesters. You see, the labor union, they won't be happy to hear that he's repeated in that same position. And my dear brother, Professor Skiamo, I think he's been silenced now. The way I look at it, he would have been brought out as a senior minister, and I think things would have changed in his ministry. But that notwithstanding, we still keep on watching them. Let's watch. Let's see. Something will happen. Let's just watch.
All right, let's watch. Godwin says, Yuzi is in Apapa. Yuzi, how are you? Good evening.
Hello, good evening, sister.
Welcome to the show, brother. Tell me what you think about this entire matter.
God bless you, first of all, and my brother there in the stadium.
Okay.
Thank you.
You people are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Please, I just want to ask a single question. I want somebody to help me. Nigeria is about 60-something years now. Is it not true?
Okay.
From independence.
But one thing that surprised me is this. Why Nigeria keep on using road and light in every 4 years for their campaign?
A good question, sir.
Does it mean Nigeria can never grow above using light and the road for their campaign? Look at ordinary Ghana here. When they came to our land to buy market, they tell you we don't use generator in our country, but somebody will bribe NEPA so that their generator will be sold in Nigeria. Does it mean that Nigeria will never grow above using road and NEPA in their campaign? That's my question. Thank you.
All right. Well, we are not equipped to answer that question because we're not politicians. We're just journalists and presenters. Mr. Peter is in Abuleba. Hello, Mr. Peter.
Yeah, good evening, Sandra. How are you?
Welcome. I'm fine, thank you. Can you answer Mr. Yuzi's question?
You said what?
Can you answer Mr. Yuzi's question? Did you even hear it? Did you hear Mr. Yuzi's question?
Which question?
Okay, you didn't hear it. Go ahead, make your point.
All right. Just two things quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number one, the issue of everyone to see the chief of staff before seeing, if at all they'll be privileged to see Mr. President, it's already a game down for the whole country. It's already a game down. Just like one of your commentators said, it is just simply telling us Mr. President needs to rest, period. The other boys are taking over. Now, the second thing I want to talk is, I had my primary school, secondary school, polytechnic and university education in Osun State. So I practically grew up in Osun State. And I believe the issue of Aghogho develop Osun State, I have been in Osun State this year up to 3 or 4 times. And I can tell you, he has his peculiar ways of operation, but practically, there is no development in Osun State. Sustainable development, just like you always put it on this station. Because I don't know the reason why you will break down a whole school with classes that will hold up to 2,000 students. You break it down fully, and you say you are developing a shopping mall. And you now said you broke down another unity school from that accommodate up to 2,000 students. You broke it down, and you say you built new infrastructure. The teachers are not well paid. And I think lastly, to close up on that, I would say that the problem of the Southwest State is that you copy the development in Lagos, you take it to Ekiti. It cannot work. You copy the development pattern in Lagos State, you take it to you take it to Osun State, it cannot work. Why? Because the basis of revenue generation is different. And that's why when I go to Osogbo presently, my friends will ask me, have Lagos boys given you job again? Because you Lagos people. And that is what I will. Now, it's good you have a recording backup in this station so that you will help us do sound bites in the next 4 years. I can tell you that Ministry of Interior will not experience what we want as internal development, adaptable development to grow up all those agencies under that show.
All right,
that's the problem of Adegbeshola.
All right.
Mr. Peter, thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts. Diokba Onowa is in Marlborough. Hello, Diokba. Welcome.
Good evening, the Hard Pack crew.
Good evening.
Welcome.
God bless you all. The truth is that I have listened to both Alista Walcott and Dr. Barrister Chris Nwokobia. The truth is that both the APC and indeed the government led by President Muhammadu Buhari is a fraud, whether we like it or not. From the year 2015 they took over, there's no single sector of the economy they will tell us, yes, we have rectified that which PDP was unable to do. No, there's no sector. They came with slogan change. And at the end of their tenure, they find out they can no longer sell the change slogan to Nigerians. They change over to the next level. And why must you, disappointing corruption, why must you enlarge your ministerial portfolio now? How do you reduce cost? Don't reduce cost. Things are not going well in Nigeria. Nothing. And you have assembled the old and the new together to take us to where? To the next level. What is the next level? That tomorrow Nigerians will have light abundantly. That tomorrow things will come down to level. The first time Buhari came to government, he spent most of his time in London attending to medical treatment. Until now, he has recovered. Nobody is praying that he should die. Like Alista Walcott said, those who pray that he should die is not. I mean, in every situation, we must have those who are for and against. Alista is for the APC-led government. That's no problems. But the truth is that since Buhari came down to Nigeria, which hospital in Nigeria has he been able to refurbish or even re-establish?
Well, it's not his job to do that. It's the job of the Minister of Health.
Which aspect can we say, yes, the president has done so well, APC has done so well?
All right.
Nothing.
All right, Onowa.
The corruption you came to fight, you came to fight is even on the increase.
Thanks for calling us, Onowa. We've got Desmond, I think, in Lekki. Hello, Desmond.
This is not Desmond. This is Loretta.
Loretta, welcome. We have a woman, finally.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. I'm here to contribute to the discussion.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me just start, with the ministerial list. When I took a studied look at it, honestly, I wouldn't say I was shocked because obviously it's expected from the sort of president we have, but I felt that there could have been an improvement from his last tenure. I felt he should have done, a lot better and made, visible and, viable changes. But unfortunately, what I saw was still the same old thing, still the same old rigmarole. Now, we saw the screening of Festus Keyamo. Everybody expected that, Festus Keyamo would have gotten the seat of a Minister of Justice because of how brilliantly he spoke. And he has been in the profession for a very, very long time. So he has, a vast, experience of what goes on in the judicial system, in the legal system. But unfortunately, we saw, unfortunately to us and fortunately to them, we saw something different. He took him to Minister of Niger Delta State, whatever. And it shows, the kind of backwardness that this government is intended to put us in. Do you understand? Because Malami has done nothing, absolutely nothing substantial to the growth of the judicial system. We all know that. Everybody knows that. Now, when you hear Festus Keyamo speak, I don't see the reason for the screening when you already know the sort of people you want to put in. It's quite unfortunate that we are still going to go back to where, we were or where we are coming from. It's quite unfortunate that there's no growth. And looking at Yakari or whatever his name is.
The chief of staff.
Oh, yes. I'll say that why are we acting ignorant like we don't know what is going on? Why is everybody acting so, so benighted? Like they don't know that right from ab initio, President Buhari has never been effective or efficient in governance. He's just there as a presidential figure. We need to be honest with ourselves.
No, but that's not a statement of fact, is it, Loretta? That's not a statement that you can back up with evidence.
Yes, it's not. We can't back it up with evidence, but we need to be honest with ourselves.
Yes, but if you can't back it up with evidence, are you being honest with yourself? Are we being honest with ourselves?
Well, we know how things operate in this country. We know how things operate.
No, we assume we know. We make a lot of assumptions. We peddle a lot of rumors, but are we sure about what we're saying?
Okay, fine. He has made it open right now that everybody should come through the SG.
But this is something that happens in other parts of the world, Loretta. This is not exactly new to Nigeria. It's not a new thing. The idea behind the Office of Chief of Staff is that the president's most limited resource is his time. So the president doesn't have enough time for all the demands for his attention. Chief of Staff is the gatekeeper to give out the president's time to other stakeholders based on the importance of what they have to say. So it's something that happens everywhere. It's not unique to Nigeria.
Then I want to understand why it wasn't done a long time ago. Why are they just inventing it, or why is it just coming up?
Jonathan did it.
It's always been there.
Yes, ministers had to book appointments through Mike Ogadome.
Why didn't this government
president
do it a long time ago?
I see.
Yeah, it's always been
Why
there.
is it just
I remember Olusegun Obasanjo. Well, it's always been
he's
there as a
asking
chief
why
of
didn't.
staff,
She's asking, and very valid question. Why didn't President Buhari do it in his first term?
Well, if we speak with his spokesperson, probably they will have.
We'll find out why.
They have reason. We can't speak on
Loretta, it was a pleasure to talk to you, Loretta.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
thanks for calling. Call us again. We loved talking to you. Chooks is in Ajah. Chooks, we're so sorry for keeping you waiting. Go ahead.
No problem. You are welcome. You see, what happened is that I just want to make one point. Okay.
Hello, Chooks.
Hello.
Your line is breaking up. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That political consideration should be, secondary to performance and, ideological consideration. But what I want to say is that when it comes to election, many of us that are even condemning this, administration, we run after them, we jump after. Why don't they throw this carrot at us? We forget about all this something. So there is no way you can divulge political consideration from all this. And when we are talking of even the issue of technocrats, I know this is an experiment. Because by the situation where a majority of these ministers are politicians, though some of them have technocrat background, but still yet, there are some of these technocrats that we talk about that, we mortgage our future. Look at the experience that we had recently when we had a lot of technocrats in the cabinet that we had to pay, for dearly for it in the respect of the problem that we had in the UK presently with the Irish company that they had to take over the asset of the country. It is the technocrats that went to launch us into that very shameless agreement. And look at the consequences. Our children and our children have to pay dearly for it. It is the technocrats that are at the administration when almost about 200 young girls had to be taken from the country, and they say it was a lie for many days before they will now come to realize that the deed has been done. What are we now talking? Let us we have already decided for this administration. If they do not perform, after we estimate them, we assess their performance, and they pack their baggages with their ministers and whatever. Next year, we do a serious campaign. Let us take them ministry by ministry. All their performances, all their, promises, all the areas where they fit. That's how it is. The revolution is not in a day.
All right,
it is not by. So that is just my submission.
Thanks for calling us. The last call is Jeremiah in Amoor Dauphin. Jeremiah, we've got 30 seconds for you. Hello, Jeremiah.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandra and Aghogho. God bless you guys. I am telling you this, that I've been singing and dancing the last music since the show started.
Okay.
Soldier go, soldier come, soldier come, soldier go. That's the music I've been singing all along.
Okay.
I think I will just come to also share Bob Marley's music. Until that philosophy holds,
I think we can call it quits now.
Superior and others inferior is finally and permanently discredited. That's what Bob Marley said. And in the last song I said, until that day when Nigerian people will reject it in totality, we Nigerians will fight it because we find it necessary. You see, the thing is this, if you look at this J.D. Agba, for God's sake, who was really screened in the house, in the Senate chamber. For God's sake, at the end of the day, they went and asked him to be a junior minister, even in power. Not if, in fact, I am too unhappy to make contributions on the air. I will say things I shouldn't say.
Thank
you. It is all a charade. I don't know where they made that arrangement, but I am telling you, it has impoverished us the more. It has put us in the state of perpetual. Hey, I'm not speaking English again. Short. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah, for calling. What a way to end it, huh? Facebook, Adekoya Toyosi says, concerning Abba Kyari, if any minister cannot follow simple protocol, him or her should resign. Buhari knows how authority works. And John Aigbero, I'm so sorry, says, it is so unfortunate that we have found ourselves in this situation. The only good thing about this is that everyone, including those that voted and rigged for them, are also suffering the maladministration of this government. Do you want to take one comment from WhatsApp?
I think we're pressed for time, but we'll take it after the news.
Yes, indeed, because after the news, we're going to be debating this info coming out of the presidency that ministers have to see the president by going through the chief of staff. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho Oboh.
99.3 Nigeria Info.